All right, here we go. Monday is here. The Trifecta is in the house. He's got Batman on, going DC Universe on us. I went Gryffindor.
DC Universe is trending in a good direction. We usually do like a fun topic, but we haven't been able to.
They
We
are.
got so much to talk about, but like, you like the Joker, right?
Yeah, it was great.
Great movie.
Great flick. It was awesome. Very disturbing. I probably won't go see it again in theaters, and you have to really be in the mindset to watch it. But it was awesome. Joaquin Phoenix was great.
But just give him the Oscars.
Yeah,
Emphasis
just give
on
it
the
now.
S because
Just
he
give it now.
deserves multiple.
Yeah, just give it to him
multiple
now.
awards.
Walk away. It's all good. Sorry, Robert Downey Jr. You're not going to get an Oscar.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not
I
going
mean,
to
I
happen.
feel like he should there should be like a separate award for
called
him.
the
like
Lifetime
a lifetime
Achievement.
Yeah. I
he
like
has
that.
to
Huge fan.
He has to retire at that point, though. All right, let's get into it. We're going to go football. We're going to talk soccer and volleyball. We promised last week, so we are going to get to that, which is good because we're about halfway through, and we have a big Thursday night across all of MCC.
Yeah.
We have big Thursday night, and then we're going to touch on AMs. But let's start with how we do usually. Oh, no power rankings this week because everything was chalk. We are going to hit the standings, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. First of all, first game we're going to go at is KAMIAKIN and Walla Walla. It was a good game. Like I've told you, at Borleski, things happen.
Yeah.
Weird things happen at Borleski. I mean, there was a lot of safeties. That was weird.
There were two. I think
Yeah,
KAMIAKIN got two. So
Couple safeties.
Yeah.
Walla Walla jumped out to the early lead, playing really good at home. They're feeling it. They got a lot of confidence. And then it seemed like Coach Biglin was like, we're just going to give the ball to number 4.
How many times did Tuna run the football? I think you said like 30
33.
something. 33 times.
For another 200-yard game.
Which, for them, it's like their offense has been so high octane the whole entire season, so that when we were getting updates on Twitter of the score, it was 20-11 going into halftime, and those take into account the two safeties. So they only scored one touchdown in the first half, and you're kind of looking at it, and like you always say, there's those trap games. It could be at Hermiston, but especially going to Walla Walla on a Friday night, it's kind of cold. You're not used to playing in that stadium because, like, all of the teams that play in the Tri-Cities, they all are very familiar with the 3 stadiums, right? Because they're turf, or if you're out at Fran Rich, like you've been to those stadiums, you play multiple times at them, so you're kind of used to them. Whereas Walla Walla, you only play there once a year, and
They got there's patches in the field that are a little funky, but I will say, beside the like conditions, their secondary is for real.
Dylan
the Ashbecks,
Logan Ashbeck, they are just very elite.
they turned Henry over early in the first half. They picked it off when KAMIAKIN was driving. One of them went to the house all the way back. That's secondary. And against Richland, they did pretty good against Fuel.
Yeah.
So that secondary is for real. And then once Henry was out of rhythm, then they just said, you know what, we got a 210-pound running back in the backfield, and he's already got 1,000 yards. So we're just going to keep handing him the
hit
rock.
1,000 yards in, what was it, week 7?
Yeah.
And so he's currently at, 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns. That's a tie for Gabe Shills because Shills only played, I think, a couple plays and then got out of the game.
A couple
We'll get into
hands.
that. He's averaging 8 yards per carry. So, Henry is a young quarterback, and sometimes when you have young quarterbacks, they have those games where they get out of rhythm. But when you have the luxury of having a elite running back in the backfield, you can just give it to him 30 times and say, carry us to the promised land. And they outscored Walla Walla 26-7 in the second half and came away with a 37-27 victory.
And I think that's why people were saying Tuna put a lot on his shoulders. We saw that on Twitter after the game. So KAMIAKIN stays with the 1 loss. They're now still a game back, and they are tied with another. That's where we're going, right? Oh, no, we're going to the MCC leaders. I was going to go Kennewick. We'll go there in a second. But the MCC leading CHIAWANA Riverhawks.
Yeah, this was it wasn't really, you can't really call it a trap game when the final is 34-14, but you can say that Hermiston hung in as long as they could and didn't back down. It looks, I don't know, we don't have anything official on Gabe Shills, but we didn't really, I had like our shooter go and try to get some establishing shots of him just because we want to have the highlights of some of the best players in the MCC, and he said he couldn't find him. And it looks like he played maybe a couple plays, like the stats came out, and he rushed for a couple yards.
Couple
but
touches.
his backup balled out.
Yeah,
in that
Marvell
game. So
Cooks.
he balled out, and it's also just a testament to what Coach has done over at CHIAWANA. Like, take a kid out, insert somebody else. Like, game 2, Kobe Singleton, the highly touted kid who transferred to CHIAWANA, goes out, and then Dion Lee is having a breakout year. And Kobe Young is also another weapon. So they just have weapons across the board. Until this number 2 team in the MCC is Kennewick, who lost to CHIAWANA by, I think, like 20 or 30. So they're in a league of their own right now.
Well, the funny thing about Mark Cooks, so he came in and he had almost 200 yards rushing on like 19 carries too this week. But a couple weeks ago against Hanford, he came in and spelled Gabe. And I was like, man, this guy's got shifty. He's got some moves with him. And I was impressed. I only saw him run the ball a couple times. And then he comes out, and we weren't down in Hermiston. We had a shooter go down there. But he rolled up almost 200 yards. And what I saw, he's a little bit lankier back than Gabe. And I think he has potential, and he's got another year or two with him. So looks like CHIAWANA's in good hands in the running back position. And he had 3 touchdowns. So CHIAWANA goes down, takes care of business at Hermiston. They are still undefeated in the MCC. Certainly looks like the best team. There's only 2 weeks left. 2 weeks left in the regular season because this is week 7, right?
Yeah.
This is week 7.
That's crazy. Where has the time gone? We're at the end of the season already.
Yeah, we're getting there. It's going to start getting real cold here. And then now we're going to go to the number 2 team, or the number 2 team in the conference,
Kennewick. Kennewick Lions, which is a team that really, I think, I was such a huge fan of them. And I think it really came to talking to Coach in preseason at training camp, and I just had a really great vibe with him. And also talking to Blaine and Miles, they just loved Coach and everything that he was bringing to the table, and they were really buying into the system that he had established. A little bit of a slow start. They beat Hanford week 1, not super convincingly. I think it was 17-13 if my memory is correct. And then week 2, they ran into the monster on the road at CHIAWANA. And, they had a lot of turnovers in that one. I think if that game had been like week 8 or week 9, it would have been a different story. It would have been a better game because last week, Miles really came into his own on the road. He was really able to establish the run. And then Blaine threw 6 touchdown passes. Hoshida, hero-worthy.
Blaine was out of his mind considering he threw it 14 times. 9 of those were complete. 6 of those were for touchdowns. So if you're good at math or not good at math, he had 5 incompletions. He has 6 touchdowns.
I would say that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. And then he also had only 9 completions with 6 touchdowns. So, as you said when we were talking about this, more than half were going to the house. And one of them was 94 yards over the top to Elijah Tanner. Blaine was on it. And he didn't play. He didn't play a lot of the fourth quarter, if at all the fourth quarter, because I was there and I know his backup came in there. So, yeah, they have it rolling. I think you're right. Like if Kennewick and CHIAWANA play later in this game in the season, it would have been a better game, but also maybe it was really good. Like we said it last week, Kennewick, they got smacked in the mouth against CHIAWANA, and it seems since that time they've kind of turned the table and they've realized, hey, look, that's how good we need to be every week. That's the standard. And so maybe it was good that they had that game and then they took care of KAMIAKIN. So right now they're in the driver's position for that number 1 seed, and they will have a home game at Lamson if everything goes chalk for the rest of the way. That's a big thing because if not, the number 2 team in the 3A from MCC is going to go on the road into Spokane. And as we've seen over the last couple of years, it's snowing sometimes. Yeah. You got different things. So Kennewick's in position. KAMIAKIN is right there. They're both tied, but Kennewick beat them head-to-head, so they have the tiebreaker.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, it was good for them to lose to CHIAWANA early because it was an opportunity for them to really look themselves in the mirror, and they've turned things around, took care of business against KAMIAKIN. They really own their own destiny right now. Richland versus Southridge, both teams really desperate to get a win. Richland had lost 2 games in a row for the first time, I think, since you've been here. That's never happened. So at least 3 years it hasn't happened. And Southridge trying desperately to get into the win column.
Yeah, and Southridge scores first. I looked at, we're running around. I was out at Connell, and I saw, Southridge scores first. I was like, we're going to have a game here. And then Richland got back to, I think, the way that they like to play football, and they scored the next 44 points, and it was 44-7 the final. Ben Fuel had 3 touchdowns, only 6 catches, 77 yards, like by numbers-wise, pedestrian, but 3 touchdowns. He just keeps racking it up. Now he's up to 11 touchdowns on the year. He'll probably be a 1,000-yard receiver. And yeah, Harrison Westover had a good game for them, and they got back to it. The defense, it was a game they had to have. You can't lose 3 games in a row, especially for a program like that that's used to winning. Yeah. So Southridge, it's going to take some time. I know they have some freshmen and some underclassmen that are coming that are going to reinvigorate this program, but they're still fighting. They're still in it. When I see the Southridge game, I don't see a lack of effort, really. Like, I see that they're still out there and they're still playing, and that's good to see because when you're 0-6 0-6 on the year. You can maybe check out, but they haven't checked out, and I think that's a good testament to the team's character. I will say that.
I think that one of the bright spots for Southridge has been Fidel Gutierrez on the defensive side. Every single game, it seems like he's either forcing a turnover or he's getting to the quarterback, and so they do have playmakers. I hate using this analogy, but it's really true, and especially for me, it's true. It's the younger brother analogy, in that the younger brother so desperately wants to be great and tries so hard and gives effort, but they just don't have the experience yet to take down the big brother. And that's what I feel about Southridge. I don't think that they have the experience yet, but it seems that every game we go to and every game we watch and witness what they're doing, they're trying, and that's what you want to see from teams. You don't want to see a team that goes 0-4 in the first 4 games and then checks out. It really is a testament to the coaching staff motivating these players to try every single week to get better each and every single week. But Southridge, kind of like PASCO, get the right system in there, get the right culture, and it's going to take a while. You're not going to go from 0-9 to 9-0. But slowly chip away at it and rise to the ranks.
Well, and Kennewick, as you've seen, is their talent is, as far as athletes go, are sprinkled through 3 schools compared to 2 schools. So there's always going to be maybe there's not enough talent in that one city for 3 schools, and so at certain times they're just not going to even out. But Ryan Stayrook is top 6 in all-purpose yards for Southridge, so that's another bright spot. Next game we got
Hanford versus
out of conference. As I like to say, Big 9 greater than. MCC greater than Big 9, as we've seen week in and week out. Pretty much every time the MCC has played the Big 9 this year, there has not been a loss.
Yeah.
And it was no different this week. You were out there with Hanford versus Sunnyside.
Yeah, this is the second time that we've seen Sunnyside at Franrich Stadium. They took on Richland to start the year, and Richland put a big beating on them. And this wasn't such a big beating, but it was such an offensive shootout. 70-42 was the final. First play of the game. At the 20-yard line, Easton Wisehyde hands it off to Kamari Durmis, and Durmis absolutely takes it to the house, blows through the secondary, gets it to the end zone, 7-0. Next possession, the Hanford Falcons actually blocked a punt, and so they were able to get the ball at the 20, 25-yard line. Second play from the offensive scrimmage, hands it to Durmis. Durmis takes it to the house again. And then Sunnyside, they scored an 80-yard touchdown. So I got these 3 plays. It was 14-7, 3 touchdowns in a 2.5-minute span.
That's good for you. Those are good problems for us to have.
Those are great highlights. I need to go over, and I went to Lamson to get the game. But I knew that there was going to be an offensive shootout. Following the game on Twitter, not a lot of updates, but when it went final and I saw it was 70-42, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because, in some shootouts, the defense just takes the L. They're just like, okay, we just need to get the ball to our offense. And that just kind of seemed while the game was going. It was trending in that direction. But Hanford's offense, I think we've always talked about this. Their offense has never been the issue. They can put a lot of points on the board. The question is whether or not their defense can hold. And their defense held against Sunnyside.
And you said Durmis had 238 on the ground with 3 touchdowns. So he's also a hero nominee. Also big game from him. As I was going back, I didn't want to be super wrong. So I looked at Big 9 versus MCC this year. MCC is 4-1. The lone loss they have was Eastmont beat PASCO when they went out there. So 4-1, that is a good sample size for the MCC being greater than, as I like to call it. Now, is that it?
Before we wrap up, we're just looking at the
standings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was it for our recap. Now, we do power rankings here. We've had the last couple weeks, and we will get back to it. But everything went pretty chalk last week, and so nothing really changed as far as that goes. So we're going to just look at the standings. We are heading into week 7, so that means 7, 8, 9, 3 more games left in the regular season. Playoff seeding, the 4A second seed is going to be wild down the stretch. It's going to come down to week 9.
Yeah, it really is. I think it really, when Richland started to lose 2 games in a row and PASCO beat Richland.
Both against 4A teams.
At that moment, we knew, obviously, CHIAWANA is going to take home the number 1 spot. But number 2 is just anybody can take it.
Yeah, because PASCO plays for all 4A games the rest of the way. So, as it stands right now, CHIAWANA in first, Kennewick is in second, then you have KAMIAKIN, and then you have PASCO, Walla Walla, Richland, Hanford, Hermiston, Southridge. And let me just pull it up here because I did, and it has the wrong schedule there. So Kennewick and KAMIAKIN, we touched on it already. They are tied in the MCC standings at 4-1, but Kennewick beat them head-to-head, so they would get that first seed. Pasco, Walla Walla, Richland, Hanford are all a game different in the MCC, and in the 4A, that's where it's going to fall. Hermiston and Southridge looks like they're on the outside looking in. Remember, 4A this year, sorry, I'm just kind of jumping all over the place, but remember, 4A this year only has 2. Last year and every other year, 4A will get 3 seeds into the playoffs. This year is a 2-year one, so it's only 2 teams, whereas before, you'd have 3 out of the 4. Now it's a little bit different. There's only 2 teams. It's going to be a fight till the end, and that's basically the storyline for the end of the year.
Right now, I mean, what is the 3 teams fighting for that second spot? It's Hanford, Richland, and Pasco, right? Those
Walla
are the
Walla.
3, and Walla Walla.
Yeah, no, I think right now I do believe all 4 are still kind of in there.
Because here's the thing, Pasco still has to play CHIAWANA, right? So when you're looking at these things, you really have to look
Pasco
at
plays
who plays
Hanford,
who.
Walla Walla, CHIAWANA, all 4A teams.
So really what it comes down to is these 4 teams really own their own destiny. And the fact that there's a lot of 4A games left in the regular season, and so you just have to win out.
Yeah, whoever wins out.
But for the most part, if you win out and you take care of business, the likelihood of you getting that second spot is very high.
So Walla Walla is the only one, well, I'm looking at the last 3 here. Walla Walla is the only one who doesn't have a lot of 4A games. Neither does, actually, CHIAWANA and Walla Walla only have 1 game apiece in the 4A left. And so CHIAWANA plays Pasco last game. They also play Southridge, KAMIAKIN, 3A teams. So that's not going to count for the 4A head-to-head, which is the tiebreaker. The 4A head-to-head is the tiebreaker. It's whoever is higher up in the MCC standings. We'll get that second seed. So, but Walla Walla goes Kennewick, Pasco, Wenatchee. They don't even play an MCC team week 9. So basically their fate is going to be sealed October 25th. They'll know where they stand because they don't have the last game of the season. They don't have any game to make up. You know what I'm saying? So that's where they're kind of in no man's land. They'll be kind of waiting around. They got to beat that last game against Wenatchee, but they're also kind of in no man's land. Hanford and Pasco have mostly 4A games. Richland, I didn't even check on Richland. Richland only has 1 more 4A game. So really, it's Pasco. If Pasco wins out and wins all their 4A games, that would also put them at 6-2. Because they're 3-2 right now, 6-2, and they would have beat all the 4A teams, except for, well, yeah, if they won out, they would have beat CHIAWANA too.
Yeah.
So I think more realistically, Pasco needs to shoot for finishing 2-1 on this year and finishing at 5-4, and that or 5-3.
It's just crazy because right now it's really like you know who's going to be number 1. You know it's going to be CHIAWANA, and then everything else is just kind of craziness. And then you know, Kennewick also for the 3A, they own their own destiny because they took care of business early. All they have to do now is just take it 1 game at a time, finish strong, and they'll most likely take home the number 1. I'm guessing KAMIAKIN will come in at number 2 unless something crazy happens. But
no, I think they would. It would. Hermiston's the next 3A team, so Hermiston would have to win out. That would put them at 4-5, and KAMIAKIN would have to lose out.
So it's just basically who's going to be number 1, who's number 2.
Number 2 there. So. Yeah, because like I said, and remember, it's the MCC standings first, and then it's the head-to-head within your classification as the tiebreaker. So, yeah. Let's go. Now let's move on. So we told you we're going to get on Pasco. We were going to get to soccer and volleyball. I can't speak today. Let's hope I figure this out by the 6 and 11 because we're having issues. But yeah, big week for soccer and volleyball. Tuesday, not the greatest matchups, but Thursday, boy, do we have pivotal games in the conference. So let's just look at soccer. Let's just go to it. Let's give you a reminder of what's happening because if you're not up on it, you have Richland and CHIAWANA, both 1-loss teams. Richland lost to CHIAWANA. CHIAWANA lost to Hanford, and Hanford's 7-4. KAMIAKIN's 7-2. So your top 4 go Richland, CHIAWANA, KAMIAKIN, Hanford. We probably have the standings up right now as you're looking at it. Walla Walla 6-4, Southridge 4-5, Kennewick 3-8, Hermiston 1-10, and then Pasco 0-10. So kind of like we got to the point, we're already halfway through the season. We're going against teams for the second time for the most part. And it's been, we kind of know the top, Richland, CHIAWANA, KAMIAKIN, Hanford. Those are your top 3. And then Walla Walla is sitting right there. Again, Walla Walla and Hanford are going to be fighting for a 4A seed there. So those teams both have to win. And they have some opportunities to do that. Well, we're on 14. We're scrolling down. So on Tuesday night, it's PASCO versus Walla Walla. At Walla Walla at 4 p.m., KAMIAKIN and CHIAWANA. KAMIAKIN and CHIAWANA is a good game, too, because they're right there. If KAMIAKIN takes care of CHIAWANA, they would move to a tie.
Yeah.
And so that's a big game, and that is at Riverhawks Field. KAMIAKIN has been the class of the MCC for the last few years running. Before that, it was Southridge. So the 3A has kind of owned the MCC when it comes to girls soccer the last few years. But it looks like right now, if things would stay this way, 4A would get their first MCC title in quite a while. Outright title for quite a while. But yeah, KAMIAKIN, CHIAWANA's high-powered.
CHIAWANA scores a lot of goals. I would say I've seen CHIAWANA play more than the other teams. I've seen CHIAWANA, I've seen KAMIAKIN. If I'm not mistaken, I think Hanford was the team that gave CHIAWANA their first loss.
Yep.
And that Hanford just did a really good job of weathering the storm, because CHIAWANA, what they like to do is they like to press.
Yeah.
On the offensive side, they really like to get the ball in the box, and then allow their playmakers to make plays. And Hanford did a really good job on that backside of their defense of making sure that the ball stayed out of the box.
Hanford's defense is good, that back line.
Wasn't able to score a lot, but CHIAWANA, that's what they want to do. They want to score a lot of goals, and they have a girl named Aaliyah Koyi who's been tremendous this season. She's scored a lot of goals for the Riverhawks. And so I haven't seen Richland play. I've watched when you've done highlights for them. They look very dominant. But KAMIAKIN also is just like a sleeper team for me. And I guess it's because this is my first season covering them, so I don't know like the history of how dominant they've been. But watching them, seeing them play like 2 or 3 games, and they're a complete team.
Yeah.
Like I look at CHIAWANA, and I think that their defense is very solid and can hold when they need to. But I just look at CHIAWANA's offense. I'm like, that's their stronghold. With KAMIAKIN, it's everything across the board.
KAMIAKIN's young, so last year they basically graduated, I'd say 7 or 8 starters, and a lot of them went to go play college soccer. And so they're the younger team that's kind of finding their way, but there's a proud tradition there, and their coach is very good, and so they're still competitive. And this Tuesday's a good game. I think CHIAWANA, KAMIAKIN they're both playing really good right now. Richland. And then on Thursday, that's where I'm getting to, Richland versus CHIAWANA. So CHIAWANA has a brutal week this week, as far as it goes. They play KAMIAKIN and then they play Richland, 2 big games. They got to win those games to keep pace in the MCC, as we only have 29th, 2 days before Halloween.
Yeah.
We're getting down to the end of this season. So that's where it stands. We'll know a lot about where people are going to be finishing after this. And now let's go to volleyball. Again, on Thursday, another big game, Richland and CHIAWANA. Both teams, Richland took the first meeting.
How was the first meeting? Was it close?
Yeah, it was really close. So all of Richland's wins, I believe, were by a combined 10 points. So 3 wins, I think there was like a couple points here, a couple points here, 4 points there. They were all very close. CHIAWANA won 1 game, and they actually won by like 9 or something, or 7. But it's always really close. And then last year, they went 5 sets, and they went 4 sets. It's always a good game right now. They're both 2 really good programs. And that first meeting, CHIAWANA did not have Talia.
Talia didn't play.
Von Olhoffen. She did not play. She was going through her appeal process, and now it's all cleared. So she's been playing. That's another wrinkle. She's been playing, I think, on the outside. I think she's been swinging outside. I haven't seen her play this year. I know at TCP last year she was playing middle, but I think she moved to the outside. That is another wrinkle for the Riverhawks to have, and something else for the Bombers to have to deal with. But Sage, on the other side for Richland, is having an outstanding year. She's going to go play volleyball at Eastern Washington. So she's a huge cannon for them back there, and another marquee matchup. The one that we're still waiting to see is Walla Walla versus Richland, because they're both undefeated. Walla Walla is 9-0. Richland is 8-0. And Walla Walla is a very good volleyball program. They had their top player from last year, who was the MCC Player of the Year, go play at Portland. But they only play once this year. One time.
There's no winner take all.
Yeah, it's going to be if things
go. Is it at Richland? Or is it at Walla Walla?
You know what? Let me find that out for you, since we have our handy dandy computer right here.
Here's the thing. We talked a lot about Richland and CHIAWANA. Walla Walla is a team that should not be taken lightly at all. And how can you be taken lightly when you're 9-0 and atop the MCC?
Hannah
The
Hare
problem
is the best middle, I think, in the MCC. She's outstanding.
She's a senior? I think she's a senior, junior.
She might be a junior.
They're very good. And the thing about Walla Walla when I saw them play is they communicate very well. And I know that's something simple, and I know coaches say it a lot, like communicate, talk to each other.
But it's free.
But when they do it consistently, whether they're up by 20 or they're up by 1 or even they're down, the fact that they do it throughout the whole entire game, that's something that really stuck out to me, that the fact that they communicate front, back, even the bench and the coaches are all talking to each other. And the game against Richland is going to be very, very good. I don't know where it's going to be. Do we have where it's going to be?
It's at Richland, and also Hannah is a senior this year.
Okay, so we got those facts on our
it.
handy-dandy
But
laptop.
Hannah has looked like she's dominant. I saw her play against Kennewick this year for the first time I've seen her this year, and she looks better. She looks like she's jumping higher. She controls. She has quick sets, and she was a blocking machine.
Yeah,
if you control the net in volleyball, I don't know if you know this, little known fact, if you control the net, meaning you make the other team have to either hit around you, hit some shots, can't go through you, you take their offense out, and you start getting in their heads. And Hannah, you could definitely tell that she blocked Kennewick a couple times, and they started dinking and dumping and trying to go over, and it just puts a lot more doubt in the hitter's head. That is what I'm interested to see when Walla Walla plays CHIAWANA and Richland, if there's still that dominance there in the middle, because then the outside hitters, Iverson for CHIAWANA can't just fire away. You got to go around that block. So there's a lot going to happen here in the next couple weeks because Walla Walla hasn't played CHIAWANA and they haven't played Richland. So we're going to, I wish this all happened, but it didn't. It doesn't happen like that. They play CHIAWANA at home next Thursday. Someone's going to have to take a trip down to Walla Walla.
It's probably going to be the rookie, but
we'll see.
That's what happens. Quickly, we didn't touch on this, but Columbia.
Oh, yeah. Let's rewind the foosball.
Columbia versus TCP.
Great
Both
game.
teams were 5-0 going into this game, and this one basically is going to determine who takes home the EWAC title.
Yeah.
Basically, 99% sure that this was probably going to happen. It was a tremendous game. We weren't at it. We had one of our shooters go and shoot the game. Great highlights, great plays that we got, but wow. I mean, both teams came in very confident. We looked at TCP, and my favorite stat is point differential. And their point differential, they were outscoring opponents by near 200 points through the first 5 games. And Columbia came out and beat them. 34-28, I believe, was the final. They came back. TCP went up.
Scored 2 touchdowns late.
And then Columbia, the Coyotes, they just came back. Probably the fact that the stadium was packed with Coyote fans, that added a little bit of juice into the team. But also TCP was out without their running back, so they were a little banged up, which is kind of rough, especially when you have such a big game like this early in the season.
It's not really that early
anymore. At the
midway
point, the time's going by so fast that I'm forgetting that we're halfway through the season now. But that's,
it's a
football.
It was, so I talked to Coach before, and it's just, when you're without one of your playmakers, and a playmaker that doesn't just run the ball, he did so much, Davian does so much for the Jags offense, you have to adjust. And so the offense was a little bit in flux this week. They had to change things up. Last week they had to change it up on the fly. They had a full week.
Dante threw 60 passes last week.
Rogers, yeah. So they had to change things up. He knew that Columbia was going to be a tough out, and Columbia moved down from 1A last year. It's one of the greatest moves I've seen a program make. A lot of teams are going to be moving around next year because of reclassification, but they've been inserted in the EWAC and been immediately really, really competitive. And now they look like they're on track to take home a conference crown. If they can go out and win the last 3 games, Abraham Garcia is great. And then one thing talking to Coach Witt said is you have to defend all 3 tiers on defense because their quarterback can make throws across the whole field. So this is why I love talking to coaches, because sometimes you figure out things that, I didn't play football. I watch a lot of football, obviously, on Sundays. That's all I do. But there's just things that you don't find, oh, hey, this quarterback, especially in high school, this quarterback can't make the throw 40 yards down the field, so why am I going to cover 40 yards down the field? Those are things that you just don't know, because I don't know everybody's arm strength, right?
Yeah.
So he said, though, this game going into it, they had to cover the whole field. And Abraham Garcia is going to run. So the Coyotes' offense is no joke. No joke. Because if they can run it as well as they do, Abraham Garcia makes full speed cuts. And that's huge. As you know, as an athlete, like if you have to break down and then make the cut, you're losing time or anything like that. But when Abraham runs the ball, he's at full speed and can still juke at full speed and not have to kill anything. And so, yeah, it was an impressive win for Columbia.
Yeah, dynamic offenses allow you to do so many things. And like you said, especially at high school, because high school, the problem with a lot of quarterbacks is if they have athletes, they can just throw it up.
Yeah.
And the athletes will just go and make a play. But it also is dependent on can they go through reads. And this is complex things that you really don't learn until you get to college, and that's why you see a lot of college kids redshirt, a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of players across the board really redshirt, and these are top 5, these like 5-star, 4-star athletes, because you don't really learn that in high school. You can just go off your athleticism. But when you can have a quarterback who knows how to throw at all 3 levels and also is a dynamic threat on the ground, I think that's where football's trending right now. Like, it used to be just pocket passers, but now you got Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, these kind of guys who can throw at all 3 levels, go through their progressions, and be dynamic rushers. Right. Coyotes, they're no joke, that offense.
Yeah, and they
very,
scored
very
14 points in the fourth quarter. 14-0. They shut out TCP in the fourth quarter, and that's money time, as everyone knows. So, yeah, big win. Royal also won. Prosser also won. So it looks like our Eastern Washington Love Fest is getting higher to the top of the conference. Prosser's in control. Royal is definitely in control, and Royal is at the top of a lot of 1A rankings. So, yes, they're as good as they were last year.
Yep, and look, I went out there for the first time last week and saw those banners.
Yeah, there's
I
a lot
felt
of
like
them.
I was in the Staples Center. I just walked in, they're just banners, and you're just like, oh.
Yep.
They got a lot of rings.
They got like 6 of
rings.
them. Or they have a lot more than that. So now, as we switch gears, we wrapped up football. We did some soccer, volleyball. Look, we're touching it all. Now we got Americans. Americans come out and had a really, really good weekend. Really good weekend.
Kyle Olson has had a great weekend. Sasha Mutala has had a great season. Back-to-back games, Friday and Saturday. Kyle Olson hits a game winner, walk-off game winner for the Ams in overtime on Friday.
Shot.
Great goal by him, and that's what you want. Like, Kyle hasn't been there in the preseasons, and he was the captain because he was at pro camp, but it seems that he just came in, inserted himself, the leadership was there, and now the production on the ice was there. Sasha has been tremendous. They made
11
some
points
moves, and so we're still kind of in this transition part where Bob is starting to make moves with the roster because you can only have a certain amount of 20-year-olds and you can only have a certain amount of imports. So it's been really impressive that with all this change and all the moving parts, they seem to still get it done on the ice.
Yeah, and everything will now start settling down because at this point, everything needs to be cemented. So this is the lineup that they kind of went out there this weekend. That's the lineup you're going to see for the year. Obviously, as we know with junior hockey, there's showcases and teams, showcases basically. And some guys will come in and out, and maybe Kyle's part of those guys. Christoph might be one of those guys. But this is the team you're going to see. And it was good to see both Kyle come back, and they both kind of felt like last weekend, they got back off, flights. They had 45 minutes, an hour and a half to practice with their team, and then they were out there, and it was just kind of, all right, we're here. It was kind of rushed. But now last week they had 4 practices to get right, and they came out, and Kyle got 2 goals on Friday. He had the game winner, as we saw, the walk-off in overtime, and then Christoph had a goal on Saturday. And Sasha's off to such a good start, man. 11 points. And the thing that really impresses me when I look at it is that he has only been held off the score sheet once. He's been on the score sheet every time, which means he's impacting the game every night. A lot of times you might say, things don't show up on stats, but for Sasha, I think it really does, and I think he's playing really good hockey. I think he has a ton of confidence. We talk about all the time. Jan is good, the first-year player. Chikart, They got the 4 points they needed. They weren't happy with the 2 previous contests where they lost back-to-back games, one in the middle of the week, and then obviously the home opener was not pretty. They came back, though, last week, got the sweep, and now it's just about piling on those wins. And when you have Beck Warren back there, you're going to have a chance every night.
Yeah, I think the 2 main takeaways that I had is I talked about it last week was penalties. As long as they can just control that and not get as many penalties and put Beck in situations where he's got to, really hold it down. They did that in the 2 games at home this weekend. They didn't put Beck in any situations that would put him at a disadvantage. And also, they just converted on their power play. They had 2 power play goals, I think, on Saturday really quick. They scored 2 goals in 45 seconds. You know, Kristoff scored the first goal, and then I don't even remember, Prince George, I think, is who they were playing on Saturday, scored, tied things up 1-1, and they were not happy with some of the officiating that was going on, but they didn't let that get to them. They scored a goal, and then they scored another goal, 2 goals in the span of 45 seconds. It was really cool to see how instead of, you know, blaming the refs and really getting into, because if you go to games at the Toyota Center, like, fans don't hold anything back. Like, they are ruthless with their booing
man. Every
and
call's bad
toward the refs. And so the team didn't buy into that. They just bought into, you know, okay, it's 1-1. Let's just go get 2 goals.
And a big shout out to Talon coming in on Saturday night, getting a really good made 31 of 33 saves. Beck's great, but he's not going to play every night. And Talon needs to come in and just be a really good backup, just like a backup quarterback. You're not going to have maybe the spectacular saves that you would have from Beck or whatever, but just be there and be solid. And last year, I think he would admit that he didn't have the game that he would like to have. 31 out of 33 shots, that's really good, and that's really something to build on. And if Talon is playing good, then maybe you can rest Beck a little bit more and give him some more rest. And I'm happy for Talon to get out there and have 33 or make 31 saves for a win. That's good, real good.
Yeah, so Am's trending in the right direction. I believe that's 2 wins in a row.
Yep.
Games on Friday and Saturday this week, so we'll get more opportunities to see what they're doing and see the changes that they're making. And
yeah, they play Everett on Friday night, which is away, which for Friday Night Fever, that is a good thing because it's hard for us to get to everything. And then they'll come right back on Saturday and play Seattle, the T-Birds, at home at the Toyota Center. So you have 1 game away, 1 game home. Good weekend, both in the U.S. Division, which we know is a heavy, heavy brand of hockey. It'll be fun to watch. I'll get out there this week and talk to Coach and find out what they got cooking for these 2 games this weekend, and then they play a Tuesday night game at Toyota Center. Good stuff. 4 games. 3 games in 5 nights. I like it.
Get out and see the new Jumbotron. It's not a Jumbotron, but that's what I'm calling
new
it.
scoreboards.
The new scoreboards
Man,
are looking
it's
sweet.
Yeah.
They introduced the Kiss Cam this weekend. That was,
oh, wow. Did you get on there?
No, I was trying to, but there was no one around me, and I was just kind of like, you know. But they did get some awesome fans, and it was just great. I love the Kiss Cam because it's either so awkward or even more awkward because you get like older couples making out, and like, oh, you get like young kids and like the guys like, and the girls not feeling it. It's just great. Great opportunities. Just
all right. I just hope I'm not on there someday. All right. All right, y'all. That's it for the Monday Trifecta. Hope we did y'all okay today. We'll get better next week.
Yep.
Right?
Episode 13.
Get it. See you later.